Hello everyone, Lawrence here from the Ride With Me channel. Today I have here the Canyon Exceed CF SLX. Canyon Belgium was kind enough to lend this bike to me for about 2 weeks and I've already got 500 kilometers on it. This is the medium size frame. Now I'm 1.84 m, so it's actually slightly too small for me, but let's get started on the review. Now most of my riding was done in the local forest and on some rather fast trails, but I also did 2-3 hour long road rides. I live in Belgium where we don't actually have mountains, so in order to test the climbing capabilities, I did a few of the Belgian classics. I don't want to turn this bike review into just listing the components, so here's what's on the bike. There's a full Shimano XT 2x11 group set, but the cranks, those are carbon fiber and made by Raceface. I have the amazing RockShox RS1 carbon fiber inverted fork and DT Swiss wheels. The saddle is by Physique. Canyon makes the split carbon fiber seat post and the handlebars, but the stem is an aluminium one. As I've said, this exact build is not for sale, so let's move on. So about the geometry of the bike. It's actually fairly long and fairly slack for a cross-country bike. So you get a 600mm long top tube with the medium model. I have the geometry page linked in the description below. To me, it's very interesting how Canyon scales the entire frame's dimensions for every size. Each step in size adds about 5mm of chainstay length. And this helps with giving riders of all lengths a similar experience with the Exceed, but as a taller rider I would just prefer it if they lengthened the front center. If you're somewhat around the overlap point in size, I would recommend getting the bigger frame because you can always get a shorter stem if it's too large. That said, I did enjoy how nimble the medium felt to me, while in reality I needed a large. It was just a little bit annoying how I was constantly slamming my knees into the top tube over here because the top tube is pretty wide and the bike is actually a size too small for me. So if you get the correct size, that will not be a problem whatsoever. So this medium frame weighs a silly 870 grams and that's less than many road bikes. Combined with the right parts, you can go as low as 7.9 kilograms. Now my test bike here comes in at 9 kilograms, including these Eggbeater 3 pedals. Now Canyon saved a lot of weight by simplifying the design and going really thin on the top tube and the seat stays. The down tube, bottom bracket and chain stays are pretty thick, and as a result you get pretty good torsional stiffness, but the bike isn't so stiff that it becomes uncomfortable. I bought a fully just to save my back, but I can easily go on triple-digit rides without hurting my back with the Exceed. The combination of the very thin seat stays and the split carbon fiber post gives you about 11 meters of vertical compliance, and this is great when going really quickly over cobblestones or over rooty terrain. It really absorbs those very small impacts, but of course don't expect it to dampen massive drops or anything like that. Something I always complain about is not having enough weight over the front wheel. The Exceed isn't perfect at this, but it's much better than any bike I rode before. The front wheel grips really well and it doesn't actually wash out. So the balance is really nice, and also because the top tube is so long, even with this medium frame, you do get a lot of room to move around, so you can always get that weight balance perfectly right to get most cornering speed really. It's nice to have a bike that picks up speed very well, but it's even better if you don't have to pick up speed. To give some overall impressions, this bike feels really fast. Now I won't say that it makes your top speeds go up by a lot, but where it really shines is in that acceleration. It's so easy to get this bike up to speed, and part of that is of course the low weight, but it also has to do with the frame design. The frame is very stiff and it transfers power very well, but at the same time it's very comfortable. So if you do combine that seat post flex and the seat stay flex as well as the tire, you get probably around 4 centimeters of rear suspension travel, which is enough for the riding that I do here in Belgium. Now the thing is, there is no damping in any of that, so you do have to spend quite some time getting that rear tire pressure perfectly right, or it will just become very pingy, a bit like bouncing a ruler off of a table. Now the bike right here comes with 2.2-inch wide cross kings. Now those aren't my favorite tire, and 2.2, while it's perfectly fine for most cross-country riders, I prefer it a bit wider, and to be honest, ever since I've gone 2.6s on the Neuron, I don't ever want anything narrower, and you can't really go wider than maybe 2.3, 2.35 inches wide tires with the Exceed. There's plenty of clearance for very muddy races, as I experienced, but at the same time you don't really want to go with a wider tire because it will probably rub and the mud clearance won't be there anymore. So while this bike was a lot of fun in just training rides, where it really shines was racing. Now, I did a race on Christmas Day. It was basically a cyclocross race with mountain bikes, but it actually was amazing to ride the Exceed there. The way it picks up speed is so amazing. I was just able to overtake everyone on the straights, and then the other people I would just dive bomb under braking because, again, the balance is so well and the bike feels so stable that you can really push your braking points and just start accelerating really quick without having that rear wheel wash out from underneath you. So that was really fun. Also, once you're at speed, the bike is incredibly stable for a cross-country bike. So you get that 69.5 degree head angle. That's basically about as steep as you want to go, or about as slack as you want to go, because you don't want to sacrifice that nimbleness in the twisty stuff. And I think the CF SLX here actually is a perfect balance between that high-speed stability as well as just being very nimble when you're just zigzagging between trees. I think it's fair to say that the Canyon Exceed CF SLX in any build is a great bike. It's very efficient, fast and stable, while at the same time being nice to your spine. It did 4-hour-long training rides just as well as a 1-hour race. But racing is where the bike really shines. Acceleration and keeping speed through corners is amazing with the Exceed. So again, I want to really thank Canyon Belgium for lending me this bike. If you guys like this video as much as I did making it, then please press that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I would just love to do more bike reviews of bikes like this, or of completely different bikes, because you know, I came from a hardtail background, then I went to like a full suspension trail bike, now I'm back on a racing hardtail. So I like all sorts of bikes, but this is by far my favorite. Now, it's way more expensive than any bike that I can afford, but if I can borrow bikes, then who cares? Anyway guys, see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.